You know, the other thing, just about kind of culturally how we do law, that I think, in some of Larry's data, you can see this, Larry Krager, and just anecdotally talking to people. Folks who wait a year or two or three to go to law school, who go back a little further along in their lives, or who have done another career and go back, I'll frequently have them say, "Oh, I liked law school. Law school was intellectually challenging, and it was all these, and they enjoyed the experience. I hated law school. I went to law school right out of college, and it was just, you know, I can still remember walking in. I got married right after college, and then went to law school that fall, and sometime about November, going in and say, you know, I think I've just burned out. I said, I wouldn't have thought it would have ever happened to me because I've always loved school, but maybe I should have taken a break because I'm just sick of this. Now, I didn't recognize then, as most of us don't, what was going on in terms of some of the other things that were happening with me that had an effect. But many of us have that experience, and when you don't have any experience in the work world, when you don't have a little more maturity, it becomes harder to handle. And so I've done some teaching on positive psychology and leadership topics for graduate business school. And you're dealing there, top-end graduate business school, you're dealing with folks who are a little further down their career. That's the way they don't want you coming right out of college. They want you to have some experience. I don't know how we move there because I'm not sure law firms are in favor of it. But I think for lawyers and for our profession, it would be better if we encouraged more people to go do something for a year or two, then go to law school. You know, there are other things we can do. I mean, I'd like to see us change law school also. But that would help with some of the disorientation that is a part of that experience. If you take that many lawyers are in a fairly bad place, unhappy, dissatisfied, negative, depressed, along, or at least in the continuum towards that way. And that's the thing about it. I mean, we see that depression in the law runs every survey I've ever seen 2 to 4 times the national average. Well, depression is a continuum. It's not a drop off the cliff kind of thing. So there are people who aren't clinically depressed, but they're not functioning anywhere near like they could be either, which is bad for them, bad for their families, bad for their colleagues, bad for their clients. So what is it, you know, that can help them move forward? If I had to pick one thing, and I talk about this when I'm doing my seminars, I usually start out, you know, if you've got a lawsuit and you've got a piece of evidence or you've got a legal point that's problematic, there are kind of 2 ways to go about it. One, you can try to finesse it and just kind of try not to pay it too much attention, let it slide by, you know, or you can hit it head on, and it's a judgment call in the circumstances about which is best. And what I do, I've usually decided to hit it head on with the clients, and it's what I call the fluffy fallacy. And that's the idea that all this stuff is fluffy. You know, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we'll talk about some of the studies and some of the empiricism. And I mean, these are very, you know, I'm not sure. I had to brush up on statistics, and I'm still not good enough to understand everything that the researchers do in terms of analyzing their data. But this is not philosophy or theology. You know, this is empirical science in terms of doing this. And so the fluffy fallacy says, look, all this happiness and optimism and hope and this kind of stuff, you know, that's just feel good, clouds in the sky. You know, this isn't about the real world kind of stuff. And oh, by the way, you can't do that and practice law. The answer is, yeah, you can. First, and the evidence is, open your eyes and look around you. There are people who are enjoying what they're doing. There are people who are positive individuals, who are happy, who are optimistic, who get along well with their folks. They have great relationships with their colleagues. Their secretary likes working for them, who are good lawyers, but they're positive. So you know, this kind of, it can't be done is, it only takes one to show it can be done, and there's way more than one. We all know them and see them. And so then the next kind of thing gets to be, well, it won't work for me. You know, I can't change. Well, you changed. You've already changed. You probably weren't the way you are now when you went into law school. You know, you've changed, and all of us change continuously as we go through our lives. So the question is, are we simply going to take some control over that and pick our direction and say that I want to get there? So I have said that there are kind of 4 statements that someone has to say if they really want to start to get better. The first one's hi. And what that says is, if I'm saying hi, there's somebody else there. And working on these things is better if you're working with somebody or in a group. And you can do it on your own, you go out and read the books and do those kind of things. But other people matter is the way Chris Peterson, the University of Michigan, sums up positive psychology's findings. Sounds simplistic. It actually turns out to have a lot of power when you work with it. Having somebody else that you're working with, somebody that you see how it's working for them, and that they can see you, that really helps. So second one is my name is whatever. And what that says, people are individuals. So I have a certain set of strengths, I have a certain, thinking style, I have a certain growth or fixed mindset, and I start from where I am and with the set of strengths that I have. And one of the things that we know from positive psychology, a lot of this is from Gallup's work, is that people generally make more progress working with their strengths than their weaknesses. So I want to look at what I'm good at and where I find flow and engagement in my work and try to build that in my life, and that's unique to me. There may be commonalities with other people, but there's a lot of uniqueness there, and I need to start from where I am. The third statement is, I want to be happier, or I want to be more optimistic, or I want to be more positive, or I want to be more engaged in my work, or whatever it is you're willing to say. But unless you're willing to say, I want more than I've got now, you're not going anywhere. If folks are simply saying, well, it just is what it is, and it's the only way it can be, kind of a fatalistic sort of thing, that's easy. That takes a lot of pressure off. You're not going to get any better. And so until somebody says, I want more of whatever, can't get there. And then the final one is, I'm willing to work at it. Because this stuff, there's no magic. So one of the things when I'm speaking I will say is, I'm not doing religion, although sometimes this stuff sounds that way, but that's not what's going on here. It's all out of science. I'm not doing positive thinking. So this isn't, The Secret, or if you can think it, you can be it, or, your thoughts attract things to you. That's not what I'm saying with any of this. That's not what I'm doing. Finally, I'm not doing magic. So, I'm not Albus Dumbledore, and this isn't Hogwarts, and I can't wave a wand and have people walk out because I said words over them that day and be happier for the rest of their lives. It's just not going to happen that way. You actually have to put in some time and effort. There are things you can do. You can keep a gratitude journal. You can go to meditation. You can start exercising. You can get enough sleep. You can work on your explanatory style. All of these things can be done, but you got to concentrate. You got to take time, and sometimes it won't be easy. Sometimes you'll feel like, gosh, I'm not making a whole lot of progress here, and you work through that and keep going, and you get to a place that's different than where you were. But you've got to kind of be able to address that fluffy fallacy on the front end before you can say, okay, I want more of that, and I'm willing to work for getting there. So, if you had to pick one thing, just to say to people is, this is real stuff. It's solid. It makes a difference. It may seem fluffy on the front end, but that's not the way it pans out when you work on it in your life.